At All Out in Chicago, AEW presented us with some involuntary long-term storytelling because right after Better Than You Bay retained their Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, pretty much I think at the beginning of the show, Samoa Joe came out and he shoved, once again, the AEW World's Heavyweight Champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. And then they went ahead and they brawled in the ring until referees and officials stopped them before Samoa Joe went on to successfully defend his Ring of Honor World Television Championship against Shane Taylor. And if you've been following pro wrestling for a while now, you know that shove at All Out in Chicago, Illinois was a callback to the time Samoa Joe, who was then the NXT champion, shoved a security guard during his entrance in Brooklyn. And that security guard was a very young, very green, still unknown Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I believe you can still find that video on YouTube, somewhere on YouTube, of course. And then last week on Dynamite, we got a much-awaited segment between the two because MJF and Samoa Joe went at it hard on the microphone, and these two men can go really at each other on the microphone. They're both excellent on promo skills. I'd still give the edge to MJF. So now the question that needs to be asked is, can Samoa Joe make it to the final next week in Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium and challenge the devil himself, MJF, for the AEW World's Heavyweight Championship? Because tonight, Samoa Joe faces off against Roderick Strong in the World Title Eliminator Tournament Finals. And if I'm a betting man, I'm putting all my chips, I'm putting everything I've got, everything I own on Samoa Joe walking out tonight as the winner and getting a shot at MJF. Because number one, I want to see these two guys go at it. If you're a pro wrestling fan, you want to see these two guys go at it. Mostly because, frankly, I don't think Roderick Strong, as good as he is, as good as he was in Ring of Honor, as good as he was in NXT, and currently with his character, he's pulling it off, but I don't see him as a potential threat to MJF's title reign. Samoa Joe, on the other hand, we all know that he's the Samoan submission machine. He's been this way since Ring of Honor days. I started watching him back in 2009 when I started watching Impact, and then I went back and watched his undefeated streak in 2005, his Unbreakable 3-Way, the series of matches with Kurt Angle, the debut of Kurt Angle, all of that, his world title reign. I've been a Samoa Joe fan for over a decade at this point. And then in WWE, he showed us that TNA just didn't have any faith in him. That TNA didn't trust him to be on the microphone because Joe just completely annihilated anybody he got on the microphone with, for the most part, during his WWE days. And like I said, back in 2010, back in 2011, when I first started watching Impact, back then TNA Wrestling, to me, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, they should have been the faces of that company. They should have been leading the charge for that company instead of a Mr. Anderson, instead of a Jeff Hardy, instead of a Sting or a Kurt Angle. But that's the past. Don't really want to talk about it. But as far as tonight goes, Samoa Joe needs to win. He needs to beat Roderick Strong in the World Title Eliminator Tournament, which will further add to the story of Roderick Strong. His vengeance, his envy, his jealousy against Adam Cole and against MJF, all of that needs to keep playing on, and it just can't end at a Grand Slam. And Samoa Joe, like I said, he's a current World Television Champion. He's a bigger threat, in my opinion, right now than Roderick Strong is to the world title. But long-term storytelling dictates Joe lose to MJF at Arthur Ashe Stadium, and then he goes back to Ring of Honor TV. He keeps defending that title. We'll see. But as far as tonight goes, Samoa Joe needs to win. There's really no other result that could be satisfactory, that could get people in tune to watching next week's Dynamite Grand Slam edition. And like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. Like I always say, we'll just have to wait and see. But at this point, MJF needs a good enough challenger, especially with how they ended things last week on Dynamite with his quote-unquote neck injury, with Joe keep taking shots at him even after the beatdown. Adam Cole coming out. Hell, we might see Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe, and then MJF versus Roderick Strong at Full Gear. If you want to get to that in November, you're going to have to build Roderick Strong to be a bigger threat. Matt Taven and Michael Bennett might help in that matter. It might bring Adam Cole into the storyline a lot more for that world title after he lost his world title match at All In. Again, a lot of things to talk about, but we'll just have to wait and see what kind of results they give us tonight on Dynamite. So, like I said, my prediction for tonight's show, Samoa Joe, the Samoan Submission Machine, beats Roderick Strong in the finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament, and he goes on to face off against MJF next week at Arthur Ashe Stadium for Dynamite Grand Slam. Now, I'm pretty much sure you have a different opinion, different prediction, different view, everything, and if you do, leave it in the comment section below. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk. Tune in later on tonight to TBS for a live edition of Wednesday Night Dynamite. And I'll see you next time.